What about that thing?
No, it's this thing. We're live.
Are we live? It's good to be live. Good to be live on a Thursday. I'm Susie. That's Matt.
And we're here at Susie Health Solutions, the enrollment center here located in Wenatchee,
Yes,
Washington.
welcome to Suzilla.
And I'm going to pull a left turn on Susie because we were scratching our heads on what we were going to do.
Uh-huh.
And
did you change up your thoughts?
I did, because I want to bring back the concept of boss.
Boss?
Boss.
Because
it has gotten this kind of weird, comedic, ha-ha, dirty feeling the last couple of years.
Like the whole boss babe thing?
The little bit, the bad bosses.
Boss baby.
Boss baby. When we were like in youth, we were exposed to the concept of boss thanks to Jackie Chan. Bruce Lee and the Big Boss.
Sure.
Oh, well, at least that's where I was exposed to the concept of boss. Someone in charge, excellence, and then you had the car, the boss. One of my neighbors had one. Yeah, that's right. I forget you guys weren't really into hot rods.
Not that much, no. But I mean, boss is the dude in charge, usually male for some reason. It's just the big kahuna, the head cheese.
Jefe.
El Jefe, the boss.
Yeah.
But that's a word that you don't hear very often seriously anymore.
Yeah, it used to be really big in the probably 80s was where it hit its peak.
It's been used for centuries though. The word boss has been going on forever. It's like, hey boss, no problem, boss. You got it, boss. Usually you like your overseers or or your project
project managers.
Project manager. What's the word I'm looking for? There's a specific word I'm looking for. The I don't know, the guy on the work site who's in charge of stuff. The foreman. Thank you. See, I was having one of those moments. I need more coffee. So yeah, the foreman, those are often the boss. Although those guys are rarely the big boss.
Yeah, but they were definitely the ones in charge. And there was a point where it became synonymous with being excellent.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That's boss.
Oh yeah, hey man, that's boss.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So that's it, and it's like I really would like to see that come back because I think that would take care of some of the Karenisms out there.
Hey, let me get the boss for you.
Yeah.
Maybe. So instead of manager.
Well, it's not just the manager. It's how people carry themselves.
Yeah. Well, the manager in a shift situation is the boss.
Yeah.
So let me speak to your manager could very easily be let me speak to your boss.
Well, no. Okay, you're looking at it as looking up.
Yes.
I'm looking at it, you're the boss.
Who's the boss?
You're the boss.
Well, I am because I own the place.
Yes. What I'm saying is there are fewer actual bosses out there.
Yes.
So people are scrambling around thinking that they're the boss and they're really not acting that way.
Oh, so the Karens are acting as bosses.
Correct. The Karens are stepping in to fill out that role of bossy.
So when you're a bossy pants, you're trying to be a boss.
You're trying to be a boss and you're not really there.
Well,
you're not showing excellence. You're just an angry consumer.
So what? Okay, why would a boss be an appropriate designation for them then?
Because a boss, I'm not saying for them.
Oh, okay. I'm missing a step then.
You are completely off.
Well, then
bounds today, and I'm trying to get you back in.
Fill me in.
I'm saying that more people need to be a boss.
Okay, I hear you. Okay, and that is because they need to project excellence more?
They need to project excellence.
Or be excellent. Not just project excellent, but be excellent.
Be excellent and project it.
Uh-huh.
And in turn, you know, you don't let someone come in and pick on the people you're in charge of.
Boss you around.
Yeah.
Ah.
Now
so
you're
the
starting
customer
to
is
see
not
that
always right level.
it's not the customer is always, the customer is not always right.
Because that was giving the power over to the customer, and there's a certain population of that customer base who abuses that and gets bossy.
Yeah.
There were air quotes there. You didn't see them.
Yeah, there are air quotes there. It's the mid-level management failure.
Yeah.
And that's a failure by upper management.
Yes.
To keep the mid-managers empowered to control what is going on.
Right.
And
that's not always easy to do.
No, it's not. But it's something that's very important in societies, is having, that level of in chargeness. And if you're not empowering your employees directly to make good decisions,
right,
you need that level of boss, a step above that's controlling a group of these folks.
Right. Well, some people, especially a new employee or a young employee who doesn't have a lot of experience, they don't have the know-how to have that power yet. But by having a, quote, mid-level management, they can help educate the younger employee to become empowered.
How to be excellent.
How to become a boss. Not just throw them to the wolves, which is the common trend these days. Oh, by the way, here you go. Your training was last week, but you missed it. So here you go. This is your job. Go do it.
Yeah.
Boy, does that happen way too often.
Yeah. My favorite was how I learned how to drive a forklift.
How did you learn how to drive a forklift?
We moved the facility, and there was not enough forklift drivers.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Not if you're moving.
Yeah, we were
from point A to point B. Yeah, a lot of pallets.
It was thousands of square feet with thousands of pallets.
Yeah,
and
a lot of work.
And we had
and it would have taken a year to move everything with just the amount of drivers they had, right?
Well, it would have taken a lot longer than that, because it was ridiculous, because they had like 3 forklift drivers up at the old building and loading trucks, and 1 forklift driver down at my location. Moving things.
Because they still had to continue doing business during this period.
Correct. So I ended up jumping on the forklift and teaching myself how to drive.
Oh my God. Did they give you any kind of instruction at all?
I had like a few minutes of instruction, and
you pull this thing, it goes up.
With the go slow. And that's
you push this button, it goes up. You push that, and you pull this level, it goes down, kind of level.
Kind of. Don't run into anything.
Don't
go
smack
slow.
Stuff. Go slow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I got.
Did you ever get certified?
Yeah, eventually. But that's how I
screamingly OSHA problematic there.
Yeah, but that was the things. I was. But because it's like, I could have sat there and hauled around with a pallet jack. I have loaded full semis with pallet jack.
Oh yeah. It's not a fun thing, but it can be done.
It can be done. But that was one of the things, being a boss, I did.
Yeah. Well, you were also a boss that was active. There's a lot of bosses out there that just sit in their office and pick their nose.
You're not a boss because you're not showing excellence.
You have been given you might have been the designation may have been applied to you, but you weren't living up to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that's.
I mean, that's a stereotype, though.
Exactly. That's the modern version of boss. It's someone with a clipboard that ducks work.
Okay. And sits in their office with the door closed and
exactly. Yeah. Versus one who, displays excellence and leads people.
I had a boss like that.
What?
I had a boss that did that. That occupied the stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
And literally, he would go into the office, and he would do everything but his job until he was forced to.
Yeah.
And then he'd come out and do as little as he could and run back.
But I think that's the modern misconception of boss, and to get back to there needs to be like a kind of a reset.
Yeah.
And a certain level of empowering.
Yeah. Get the folks who are coming up in the ranks empowered.
Well, it's not. It's okay. It's
them too.
It's not the concept of those coming up in the ranks.
Okay.
Because a person in the ranks should be displaying excellence.
Well, what if they don't know how to display excellence because they've never needed to?
Then the next level of management needs to show them.
Okay, so they need to be. You're allowing for training.
Allowing for training.
Good.
And training is one of those things is evolved with a caring environment.
Okay.
Because we're Gen X, we did not necessarily have a caring environment.
Yeah.
Usually it was here the keys, have at it.
Yeah. Go for it.
Go forth
and make us money. Yeah.
And
expected us to know everything out of the gate without any kind of training.
Yeah. And
they wonder why we're dissatisfied.
Well, that was one of the things that I posted today, and it was Ryan Reynolds' picture about we're a generation that was taught that being uncaring is cool, and it's really not.
Yeah.
It's about effort and loyalty, and it stung one of our friends right on the head. It's like, well, I know people that should have one job and that's all they work, and they should be able to take care of their family, and they're burned out because they work for these horrible companies. I'm like, you didn't get past the letter that said, uncaring. They got trapped in that uncaring environment, and then dumped their loyalties into it, dumped their efforts into it, and then wondered why they're burned out.
Yeah. What's one thing that I had to learn when I was working for an uncaring company is that they didn't care. You have to learn that they don't care, because they always give a lot of lip service to caring. They do. They always give a lot. Oh, we care about you, and we give you pizza parties, and here we have a donut, and we have an open door policy, and we listen to you, but they don't, and they expect you to, your phrase, dump your loyalty into them, but they don't reciprocate.
Yeah,
and that is a toxic work environment.
Oh, it's true. It's incredibly toxic.
It's super toxic. And that is something that corporations need to figure their heck out, because that's why they are bleeding employees.
Yeah, and it's a really definite show of the Great Resignation.
It is.
And I pointed that out. It's like, look, you don't have to be in that environment. You can leave and find individuals and surround yourself with individuals that care about you.
And there are companies that do.
And then when you find that group of individuals that care about you, put effort into them and loyalty into them because they care about you.
That's correct.
And that way you show that you care about them as well, because it can't be that one-way street of, hey, dump your life into this project and you're rewarded, because that's a myth.
And unfortunately, there's a set of thoughts from the corporate level that if we give you money, that's going to be enough. We're going to work you, and you're going to give us all your loyalty, and you're going to work, and it doesn't matter how unhappy you are if we give you enough money through overtime or just a bonus, or sometimes, then you're going to be happy.
If it's just money, you're a commodity.
Yeah.
You're an emotionless commodity. And when you shut off your emotions, you become that little goblin. And you go into goblin mode, and you're readily discarded at any time.
Oh yeah, and that's that's one thing you run into. They say, "Oh well, here's your vacation time." Boy, do they begrudge letting you have it. Time off only if it's mandated by law, kind of sometimes.
Yeah, I've had to been ordered to take vacation or lose it.
Yeah. Use it or lose it.
I'm just one of those types. It's like, yeah, I love what I do. And I lost a lot of that jaded nature of our generations.
Yeah, we really are jaded.
And I lost a lot of it by becoming self-employed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I'm still more jaded than you.
Yeah, well, you've got a little bit more time in that customer service lifestyle.
Yeah, and it takes a lot to shake that loose.
It does. It takes effort. I think next week when we send you to Texas, you're going to shake loose some of that.
I don't know. We'll see.
Because that's the point where it's like, okay, yeah, and there's some, hey, take first class because it's $100 more, and you're the boss.
Yeah, being the boss is something I still struggle to embrace. And that is just because I wasn't for 98% of my career path.
And that's weird because you were knowledgeable. You displayed that knowledge. You took care of people around you and you trained people around you. You were a boss.
Yes.
And you were unrecognized.
Yes.
And unrewarded.
Yes.
And that's why
I never wanted the management because boss is being a boss in the situations I was in would be being a manager. And I never wanted that role. I'm not a good manager. I never liked the, making schedules and I just didn't. I wasn't good at that way.
No.
But that's the equivalent.
You're confusing boss with manager.
No, I'm saying they confused boss with management.
Well,
and there was no. I might have been a boss, and I was unrecognized as a boss, but that's because the only designation was manager.
Well, the only designation
I was behaving in a boss manner.
You were behaving in a boss manner, but you were not rewarded in a boss fashion by other bosses.
Gosh, no. Well, here's the thing: when you're a woman and you're a boss, you get designated, you get labeled as bossy, and that's a negative. And you are not supposed to be bossy when you're a woman in business.
Yes, you are with an attitude above your pay grade.
You get marked as a bitch.
No.
And you lose, and it's a fight. It is always a fight to get the respect you deserve. And I probably ran into that without even realizing it.
Yeah.
Because that's just the culture I was used to. Well, guess what? I ain't playing that game no more. I am the boss.
Yeah. But that takes effort and you get training. And once you get training, boss is not a static position.
No, it should be a dynamic position. It should be ready to flex and ready to grow and ready to teach so other people can grow.
Yes. And that's why I'm saying we really need to bring back that concept of boss.
I think the word's got such a negative connotation these days. It'd be hard to reclaim it.
Well, I don't know because there are always cycles.
That's true.
And it's like, do you want to be it's that concept of we work with the concept of being self-employed.
Yes.
You should be the boss of your financial and emotional life.
Be the boss of your own destiny.
And being the boss of and that the concept is just starting to strike me as because I'm starting to work with someone. It's like, look, you are incredibly vulnerable because you've regulated some of those responsibilities outwards.
Okay.
And you're in a very dangerous position. We just recently had a friend lose a position. They were local journalists providing really good content because he didn't have a boss above him to say, this show cost me nothing. It's putting out good content that's truthful. and stand behind him.
He didn't have anyone to back him up.
He didn't have a boss.
Well,
he had a manager.
There you go.
That got sucked into political drama.
Yeah, got into this. Well, the thing is there's no reason. Well, yes, he did. And the people who were running the show, as it were, and it said, we don't like the direction you're going in your own personal life.
No.
So, well, they didn't.
It wasn't that.
It wasn't. It wasn't it because of his reporting off the show.
No, it was a group of individuals belonging to a cult.
Well, I know that. They targeted him.
Targeted him because of his personality.
Because he was challenging them. Yes,
but they didn't say that. It wasn't. They didn't like his content. They didn't like him, and that's all they targeted was him.
Yeah.
And I've actually gone online to a couple of different
I haven't done any
stories
digging on what's going on with that.
And it was interesting because there was points where they were attacking him personally, and it was fascinating. The words they used was, he's a joke, he's unqualified, and have you looked him up? Have you done your research?
Oh, geez. Boy, does that sound familiar.
It really does sound familiar. And so I went and, pulled credentials up, LinkedIn, and saw that he held a journalism degree.
Yeah. But you show that to one of these people, they're going to say fake news.
I asked him, and I point blank asked him, this is a small business owner with a journalism degree, and donates his time with a local Rotary group. Mm-hmm. What about him is, a joke?
Mm-hmm. What's invalid?
What is invalid? What do you find funny? What do you find is this thing that you claim?
They can't answer that.
And they can't answer that because it's the follow-up. It's the combo.
Uh-huh.
And no one's doing combinations.
Uh-oh.
And that's what I made. I stepped up and said, okay, let's, I know who he is. I've met him a couple times in public. From what I see, he's a stand-up guy. He's got the credentials. He's putting out truthful, backed up information. Why the hostility?
Because he's challenging their status quo, and he's challenging their potential for power.
He's being a boss.
Yeah. And they don't like, and they're calling him bossy.
And that is important to when you see bosses to support them and say, yeah, that's a boss.
Yeah. Okay.
And you've got to have this sort of admiration and ability to voice being positive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what that boss culture is positive.
So he's using his powers for good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this one thing we always teach our son is use your powers for good.
Only use your powers for good. Mm-hmm.
And he is, but the villains are, the bad guy is challenging him, and he's going to use his awesome bossness to get through this. And we're going to help, and we're going to use our awesome bossness to help him.
Yes, but that's what the like I said, it's that display of positiveness and ability.
Yeah.
And there's acknowledgement in it. And that's what that whole boss cycle is.
Uh-huh.
And so that when you're a boss, you recognize other bosses as being excellent as well, because they're displaying
the awesome bossness.
Because if you think about it, the whole Karen cycle and that and the whole cancel culture is just pointing out the negatives.
Yeah. We need to point out the positives.
We need to point out the positives. We need to defend the positives.
Yeah. Yeah, we do. That's something that you're seeing it more frequently. Well, they're more accurately, what I'm seeing is people who are calling out the negative, but not balancing it with because there's a whole the whole Karen culture is calling out the negative behavior.
Well, it's not necessarily calling. Sometimes it's imagined negatives.
Yes, imagined negative culture. Mm-hmm. But what we're not seeing is the balance of a positive.
Yeah.
And that's where social media might be failing us in that regard, because we're all just kind of, woohoo, it's a Karen story. We all really enjoy the nasty Karen stories, but where are the positive, positive stories?
Well, yeah, you can change things in a positive manner.
Yeah. Do you think all these Karen call out videos and things like that, does that change anyone's perception of themselves?
It puts in a fear, which is not positive.
Does it give somebody who has been abusive to folks pause? Give them a second to pause for thought. If their behavior am I being a Karen? Am I being a negative person? Is my demanding this and demanding that negative? Is anyone who fits that stereotype, is anyone actually listening about that and realizing that's them?
Probably not.
So basically, we're just shouting into a well.
Yeah, because you can't instruct someone to care. No. The only way someone will care is if they've got a vested interest in something.
Yeah.
A vested interest in their lifestyle going away.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's usually the common fear that's pumped into them.
Yeah, they're afraid it's fear. It's something they're going to lose something integral to them.
Yeah. So what you do is you to find bosses is you look for someone that is building something new.
Yeah.
They're not holding on. They're not clutching. They're building something new.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
You look for, and you don't look for things that are exclusive. You look for things that are inclusive.
Yeah. Inclusivity is the key to the 21st century. It really is.
Well, it
really is.
I don't think it's the key to the 21st century.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was the key to the last century that we've forgotten.
That's why we're bringing it back. That's why we make sure that we're being very forefront about the 21st century with it. Yeah, it got shoved to the edges.
It got shoved to the edges out of fear of losing.
Right. And that's one of the things we've run into with the whole Karen culture.
Yeah.
We went through, in the 20th century, we had the civil rights movement, which was significant and made a big dent and freaked out a generation of folk.
Yeah.
And multiple generations of folk.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so eventually what we're seeing is the exclusivity, the freaked out folk tightened their ranks and became more exclusive emotionally. And they're little groups. Is that true?
It's hard to say, because you've always had a group that would play snobbish games and kick people out.
Oh yeah. It clicks, man.
They've been around forever,
and there always will be around.
However, we grew in population, so yeah, some of the mean games got bigger.
Yeah. And the way to communicate changed, so that got bigger.
And the way of communication is changing. I can't stress that enough, because it was looking at the whole Elon Musk bought Twitter is a good example. No, he put in a bid for it. It has not been processed, and there's multiple stories about it collapsing already. And this is like day 2.
So we'll see how that all plays out. But what it boils down to, I guess, I kind of took us on a left turn there. Seek out and create inclusive situations.
Yeah, and natural bosses will arise.
And cultivate, encourage, be one.
But here's the thing is, natural bosses will arise. They will shift. However, if you want it so that it's not this in-out, kick to the curb sort of game, you gotta turn around and hand over the boss reins to someone else.
Yeah, you cannot you can't grasp the power and never ever share.
Yeah, because then it's no longer dynamic.
When you're clinging, it flattens. It's not dynamic anymore, and it dies. All right, that's a good place to stop, don't you think?
I think that's a perfect place to stop. Susie is going to be out in Texas in Arlington?
Arlington, Texas.
Going to Arlington Live for
I'm going to Texas, the Texas Live in Arlington, Texas, for Soup Live. Yes, it's an insurance convention. It's going to be a blast. So I will be out of town next week. Matt will be doing this on his own, which is going to be really interesting because he's probably going to go off for 45 minutes and not even know what he's talking about.
I go off for 30 minutes without knowing what I'm talking about.
Yes, but I'm here to rein you in.
Oh, okay.
I'm your boss, man.
You're the boss.
We're the boss.
Okay. So, yeah, have a good weekend and think about on how you can be a better boss to yourself.
Yes. Being a boss doesn't mean you have to work for it. It's not actually a business thing. It's a thing.
It is a thing. All right. So, hey, have a great week and talk to you next.
Talk to you later. Bye.